Okay, hello. Sorry about the delay. I was having issues with OBS. It didn't want to capture the game, so I had to do something else in order to capture it. And now I can't see my cursor. I only know where it is depending on if something changes on the screen, which is annoying. Because I use the cursor to highlight stuff and indicate stuff, and it's not there. Oh, I forgot to grab my notebook that I'm using. Oops. Right. I'm just annoyed at the moment because it took so long to get to actually be able to capture the game so I could do this, and I'm just frustrated. Isn't technology wonderful? So this is a fairy's tale. I'm expecting to finish the game. Today, and then depending on how long that takes me, I may do some other stuff, mess around a bit with other choices. But yeah, for now, basically we are playing someone who is at least half Fae. And they were living on a mountain with their grandfather. Hi James, sorry for the delay. Technology, it's a pain in the butt. After their grandfather passes away, because let's be real, he's a grandfather. Hi! They end up having to, they live alone for a while, and then a mudslide basically destroys their house and they can't repair it on their own. And they don't have the right kind of magic to do it that way, I guess. And, so they end up heading down the mountain into, human society, which their father had told them never to do, but they don't exactly have a choice in that respect. And they meet an old lady who's very sweet, and they spend time with her. And then the old lady goes to get some firewood, and takes a while to come back, so the main character goes to investigate and find her, and finds out she's being bullied by a couple of brats, because that's real, they were being brats by bullying her. And then they get into an altercation with a couple guards, and then run into a couple men who turn out to be the potential love interests, and are basically incarcerated to wait for the lord of the area to come by and decide what to do with them, in essence. In the meantime, they're being babysat. And the choice of babysitter will indicate which one you end up being with, I guess, or at least romancing. And the choices are Glenn and Silas, and I picked Silas. And I apologize if you don't see the cursor. Part of the issues I was having getting the stupid OBS to even capture the game means that for some reason I can't see my cursor. I only know where it is based on the changes on the screen. Like, I'm moving my mouse around, but I'm only seeing it plot for 70% of fantasy anime, right? So I only know where it is when the highlight changes. So, in which Nell goes on a date that isn't a date or doesn't. And then part 5. I did not write down the name for part 5. Why did I not do that? So actually, I picked the name Nell for my character. But the main character's name, default name, is Al. So, in which Nell quotes a dictionary. So I said this last week, but I'll say it again. Happy Pride Month, because Pride Month is all month long. In which Nell quotes a dictionary. Silas was once again playing the role of guide today. So Silas is basically the town doctor. And Glenn is the captain of the guard. And Nell actually watched their grandfather train them to fight when they were a kid. But Silas and Glenn were not aware of Nell's existence, and they took care to hide. But I think one or both of them may have caught glimpses of Nell, but didn't realize who that was. So the only way you can affect Nell's appearance is by deciding which body type, whether it's masculine or feminine, and pick the name and pronouns. So I picked they, them, because why not? And feminine body type, because I am feminine body type myself. And of course the stream is not progressing on the stream manager. Okay, so OBS is showing what it's reflecting what's on the stream. It's just the stream manager isn't showing up. Are you guys actually seeing anything change, or do you still have the main menu? Oh, there it is. Okay, the stream is caught up on my stream manager. Awesome. Silas was once again playing the role of guide today. I was pleased since there was much more of the town I wanted to see. Since I had a guide, I might as well make the most of him, I thought. It was either that or sulk in my room. Oh, yeah, and during their previous excursion outside, something happened. Oh, the guards that Nell had an altercation. The gruff guard with the well-hidden sensitive side and the kind doctor with hidden inner steel. Yeah, that sounds about right. Hi, Ash! Welcome back. If you need to go get some sleep, I won't be hurt. But thank you for showing up, even briefly. But yeah, there was an altercation with the... See the woman all in white. Okay, yes, that's what you're supposed to see. Yeah, there was the guards that the main character had an initial altercation with show up while they're on the tour with Silas and try to start something. And the wind fae nearby aren't having any of it and cause a huge storm. Your sleep schedule is also you've been napping at weird times. That sounds like my dad and my brother. If they don't have something to keep them on track, they just go to sleep whenever and wake up whenever. They do try to sleep through the night, but I know my brother has gotten up in the middle of the night, didn't have a snack, and then gone back to bed, and then woken up late. I can't do that. I can't take naps during the day unless I'm really sick or really tired. I don't take naps. And while there was some satisfaction to be had in a good sulk, I would much rather be outside seeing new things. Hence my guide. Being a guide suited Silas well, and people seemed more at ease when they saw me with him. Yes, have fun with Changeling. I will eventually buy it myself and then stream it, of course. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to stream it from the start or just where the demo lives off. I may stream it from the start and then just go from there. I might exude a touch of chaos, and as a counterpoint to that, Silas exuded calm. Chaos gremlin, love it, love it. Even as they float about the town, picked up things at stalls and the markets, and asked question after question after question, he answered everyone with patience and kindness. In fact, that temperance begged to be poked at. Thus it became an unwitting game. I hadn't meant to start it out, but I couldn't help it. How many questions could I ask before I broke that patience? That's like McCoy and Spock. Like McCoy is constantly trying to get a rise out of Spock. There was actually a Star Trek novel that I read where the original series crew ends up on a planet full of Felinoid people, and Kirk is trying to explain to Spock why this other character would want to bully him, like McCoy does. And he's kind of floundering, and one of the natives of the planet says, if you hang your tail over a tree branch, someone's gonna want to pull it. And that's exactly the impression I get here. Will I stream Shadow over cyberspace? Yes, of course. I will definitely. I'm planning to play it. It does sound intriguing. I haven't been doing the beta because I just I haven't had the spoons, I guess, to do it. The game sound is louder than my voice. It could be partially because I had to tell it to capture the window. What am I doing? Ambient volume. Oh my god, look at how loud that is. Come on. There we go. Let's turn down the sound and music as well while we're at it. I play visual novels almost every day. I tend to not play visual novels when I'm not streaming. Though I will occasionally open up old favorites. I haven't quite decided which of the love interests in Changeling I like best. The boy that you sit next to at the back of the class, in the first class of the day, he kind of caught my attention. I don't remember his name. My brain's blanking on it. Okay, cool. That's better. Awesome. William? I think so. He's the one with, I remember when you were sitting next to him, your pencil case kept falling out of your backpack, and if you sat next to him, if you didn't sit next to him in class, you ended up sitting next to him in at lunch. I know because I tried different versions, and your food goes flying. Okay, that's William. Interesting. I'm very tempted by him. Though, gosh, they're all interesting. I will eventually romance them all, of course. More like a battling Brooklyn and less Black Sabbath encore. William's route is the spoopy route. Okay. Well, considering what I read in the Gilded Shadows lore book, there's an additional incentive to do the Williams route first. How silly could I make them before a crack appeared? I don't even know when I began to test it. And yet he would just smile at me and answer seriously every time. I suspected he had caught on to my game, but if he did, he made no indication that was the case. He humored me all the same. Maybe that was why he was interesting to watch. More interesting, a touch, than the other people we passed on the street. I started to notice a lot of his little mannerisms. He toyed with the chain of his monocle even though it was fixed. Why did he even wear it? Sometimes his fringe would fall in front of his face as we walked. I liked watching him brush it away with his slender hands. Do all doctors have pretty hands? I was beginning to like a lot of those small gestures. Perhaps it's just easier to look at him than at everyone else. Most townsfolk still averted their eyes from me as we passed or downright ignored me when they spoke to Silas. The adults, anyway. It was rude, really. A more vindictive Fae may have cast a few curses to teach them a lesson. I hadn't done a thing to deserve such caution. Literally had a dream about Caleb. Okay. In fact, I thought I'd been quite congenial, all things considered, and yet here we were. I was being ostracized, and I wasn't even laughing at funerals or crying at weddings like the story said fairies were wont to do. I confess it's a little spiteful. I made a point of saying hello to those people specifically so I could watch the myriad of reactions on their faces, the most prominent of which was usually discomfort. Chaos gremlin! I love it! The children, however, no longer held such apprehension. Some of them would even ask questions as we passed, all curious about the fairy kid the doctor was taking care of these days. Did you live in a tree in the woods? What is this? Is this supposed to be Freckles? The dreams I had about gilded shadows were the ones where I dream about doing the art and then wake up and be sad because I actually hadn't completed any art. Oh, the art is wonderful in Gilded Shadows. I would just stop and stare at it each time a new CG would pop up, or even I'd just stare at the background. And I love the background in A Fairy's Tale, especially the more watercolor style at the beginning before we got into the village. So I don't know who did the background for A Fairy's Tale, but A+. Well done. I do not. Can you do magic? Oh, what a cutie pie! That was JMB. Okay, they did an excellent job on the backgrounds. Both in the city, but especially in the nature where it's all watercolory. Okay. I mean, it fits that the city ones are different from nature because it is a different location. And it's a different vibe as well in the city. So it works. It worked out. It's cool. Indeed I can. Can you take my sibling away? They are so annoying. And what would I do with your sibling, pray tell? There had been no answer for that response. Children were of interest to me. They said all Fae had a deep interest in human children, but I didn't think mine was untoward. They were just different than adults, and I found that charming. That's because children don't have the same filters that adults do. They don't learn to filter their curiosity. He said we could also get coffee since I liked it so much, and the sweet bun from before. I was looking forward to it. It seemed busier today than it had during our last trip through the town. There were so many people, voices buzzing like there were worker bees in a hive. I suppose that was how the queen would prefer to view her country, but I suspected that townsfolk wouldn't enjoy the comparison nearly as much. Small puddles still littered the streets where there were missing cobbles or low spots that held enough it hadn't evaporated just yet. Yeah, there's one spot near where I live that always turns into a huge puddle when it rains. No matter how many times they fill it in, it ends up just eroding away, and there's a big puddle, and a lot of cars, they just zip through it and just send the water flying everywhere. And it's like, do you not realize that that's not a good idea? You should really not be driving through any standing water like that. Whatever freshness was brought by the rain had fled under the onslaught of the people and the animals and the clockwork carts with their oily smell. Silas took note of the lingering puddles as well. I do hope we won't have another freak storm today. I know I did a voice for him, but I can't remember what it was. That entirely depends on sources well outside my control. I didn't cause the last one either, you know. Besides, the ducks are enjoying it. They probably enjoy another one as well. Much to the chagrin of whoever has to do their washing, I'm sure. Silas let out a soft chuckle that melted into a wider smile than usual. He's so cute! He had a wonderful smile, the real one that pushed that bland nothing smile aside when it shone through. It was like the warm sun on your face before the sky wrapped around you like a soft breeze. Silas was like that in general, I thought. That's a cute way to think about it. Just a steady, calming breeze. Just then the smell of the bakery hit my nose, beckoning to pick up the pace. I grabbed his hand and chose to listen to the whispering allure of sweet buns and coffee. Silas's smile gave way to a gentle laugh at my enthusiasm. You just see the MC, you don't see Silas? Stupid frickin'. I don't know why it's being such a pill today. But if I mean, game capture usually works. But today, OBS decided to be a butt. Yeah, my stream on my tablet is stuck. Okay, what the heck? Okay, my tablet is stuck on one screen. So, let's see, I restarted Twitch. Let's see if that helps. Nope, still stuck on that. What the heck? My window capture is fine. Let's try Twitch on my computer. This is annoying. It's annoying. Okay, now it seems to have caught up. Yeah. Guess it. Audio was choppy, but now it's fine on mobile data. Still see the OG woman image of the woman in white. Do you see her with a man? Okay. See both now. Alright. Guess just sat on the. Took a while to get through. A little while later, we were back on the footpath with bread acquired as Silas continued to show me various things around the town. Silas had mentioned a library before, and today he pointed out the building, though we didn't go inside. What type of books do they have? All sorts. History, philosophy, science, and magic. They have books for children, books about romance. Romance? I've never read a romance book. What are they like? I think the stream is just lagging behind me. Because I've moved ahead a couple lines, but it's still stuck. Romance books. I actually read a bunch of romance novels when I was younger. That was actually my introduction to sex, besides this video that my parents showed us about how the sex works, basically. So yeah, that was my introduction to smut, was romance novels. Not fan fiction, romance novels. Of course, when the internet wasn't really a thing for me until I was in college. I've never read a philosophy book either, but that sounded somewhat boring, while romance was interesting. I admit I've never read a romance book either. I can't say I imagine that would pique your interest of all things. I knew it! He's blushing! Why is technology being such a butt today? Is it still stuck on the enthusiasm bit? For you guys? Technology woke up and chose violence. Yeah, for real. I polished off the bun and gave him a curious look. It's still stuck. Oh, you can see my mouse, but I can't see it. That's ridiculous. I did sit on that screen for a while. So that could be part of it. What made you think I wouldn't be interested in the idea of a book about romance? I suppose I wasn't fully sure about the Fae's relationship with love. Silas, I know full well there are loads of stories of fairies ferreting away mortals. In fairness, a good many of those suggest the motives are not quite as wholesome as love. Technology, our worst enemy ever, a necessary evil. And a good many of them must suggest otherwise. I suppose most of the tales I've heard don't say much about Fae motivations in general. Well, truthfully, fairies fall in love very fast and are supposedly quite devoted to those they've taken an interest in. Sometimes it takes only one look. Very enthusiastic about this thing, for real. Move on! This trade is going to take me the whole stream just to get through this last bit. Okay, on my computer it's fine. On my tablet it's not. Let's see what happens if I go to this. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, now it's fine. I'd argue that stupid is an even bigger enemy and technology is just an enabler. Yep, it enables people to be really stupid all over the place. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that. It's weird. Hi, Jacqueline. Love at first sight, huh? I had heard the opposite. That's quite rare for Fae to fall in love. I am not going to follow you on Twitter just because you asked me to. You can go ahead and stop following me if that's all you're following me for. I'll have to take care of that after stream. Tapped my chin and thought at that. It wasn't wrong, of course, though rare seemed a bit of a stretch. Fae fell in love all the time, just not with mortals. For Fae, I suppose it's sometimes difficult to find the right person to fall in love with, but when they do, love follows quickly, sometimes instantaneously like my father with my mother. Yeah, I'm on the Twitch app too. If I'm on the browser, like I would be on my PC, which unfortunately I only have one monitor, so it's not like I can have it open on both open on my my computer, because I can't do both. Okay, you know what? Stop it. Okay, that hopefully solves that. Okay, sorry about that. That was gonna bug me. Okay, love falls quickly, sometimes instantaneously, like my father with my mother. It happens in the space of a blink, a breath, and when they fall hard. So I've heard. This is why I have 3 monitors, not because I just wanted as many as would fit in my desk. They are for work. That's fair. Yeah, I have been thinking about getting another monitor. But so far, having the tablet has been fine. Are humans like that? Some are, yes, sometimes. It depends on the human, I suppose. Many believe in fated love or love at first sight, but not all. For some, love is a mysterious thing they don't quite understand. You can hear the game audio, but not my voice if I'm chatting away. Okay, my voice is back now. Okay. I had this problem before. I moved my mic. For others, well, I suspect that many of us simply find love where we can and don't question it too hard when it appears. I pondered that thought. Okay, well, if nothing else, the video should be okay when I upload it to YouTube. Oh, that is a very good question to ask. What am I doing? Stop that. Which one are you? I can write, honestly. Which one are you? His eyebrows went up as if he hadn't been expecting what I thought was a very natural question. Or perhaps it wasn't. Was it strange to ask someone how they viewed love? I don't really know, though I couldn't imagine it to be unusual. Then again, perhaps it was strange for me to ask because it made it seem as if I wasn't human too. I was, but sometimes I felt more Fae, perhaps because I'd not spent much time with humans before, so all of this was very new. But I thought that if I understood them better, surely I would learn about myself as well. Part of me was human too, after all. Silas's expression had gone far away, but he glanced at me again, opening his mouth. I suppose I would say Child's sharp cry echoed down the street, cutting Silas's answer off. Silas was already running. Of course we don't get to hear his answer. That would be too easy. Now I'm stuck on the save game menu. Fantastic. For a moment I just watched, taken aback, when the usual calm gave way to an unexpected burst of animated energy. But I followed behind to where the child lay on the cobbles, cradling his knee. Are you all right? Let me take a look. The child removed their hands from their knee, hiccuping through their pitiful sobs. The scrape wasn't all that bad. I imagine the tears were more because the fall had given the boy a fright. Don't worry, we will get you fixed up right away. I crouched to the side and watched as Silas tended to the child with deft and practiced hands. I'd never asked before what was in the satchel that he carried with him. Turns out he was a doctor through and through. There were all sorts of tools and bits and bobs in that bag. Oh, it's a doctor's bag. That's what it is. Jars of clear liquid, jars of colored liquid, metal tools, and gauze and bandages. To distract the boy, I pulled silly faces so he couldn't help but giggle through his tears. From the corner of my eye, I saw Silas smile at my antics. Oh, that's cute. For the first time, I wondered how he'd become a doctor. How did anyone become a doctor? Was there a doctor school? I mean, in a way, yes. How did he have time for it when he spent his childhood with my grandfather training to be a soldier? Then there was the war. And Silas had gone from a bright and playful child to such a solemn and quiet adult. It was strange the turns life took. By the time the wound was wrapped, the child was no longer crying, just grubbing at the streaky face while an occasional hiccup still escaped. The boy thanked Silas and I. I'm sorry, Dr. McMurrin. Thank you. Yep. It was rather adorable. A small crowd had joined us as he worked, the child's worried father, who was profusely thanking Silas for his work, and a few others who just wanted to check on the crying child. Curious children, curious adults were still so like children at times, no matter how many years they had tucked away beneath their bonnets and stodgy hats. How sweet to keep the child occupied while the good doctor worked. I heard they were very nice to the baker this morning as well. The doctor's always been a good judge of character, and he seems okay with them, doesn't he? How strange it took watching me do the bare minimum of comforting an injured child for people to think I might not wish to curdle their milk, knot their hair, and make their lives miserable. But I let it be. After all, I couldn't really blame them, and progress was still progress. We left the child in the care of his father and continued our winding walk through the town. It wasn't until much later that I realized Silas never got the chance to answer my question. Thank you for your help before. It made everything much easier. Oh, well, making silly faces doesn't seem quite worthy of thanks, but if you must, you can consider it a payment for the bun. Not every act of kindness requires repayment. I was silent for a moment, not sure how to respond to that. I could understand why he said it, but it was difficult to ignore the imbalance when you could feel it weighing on you. The only time it was easy to avoid equal trade was when you were blind to the scales that presided over every interaction. That side of me, unfortunately, was nowhere near human enough to pretend I didn't see. Oh, this actually takes me back to FF14. Because, there's, Fae creatures in one of the expansions. And this is kind of their philosophy. It's to only take as much as is given. You know, keeping the scales balanced. How did you become a doctor, Silas? At one time you trained to be a soldier. You even became one, if I'm to take what you said before about the war as truth. I did train as a soldier. I did become one. I never thought I would be a doctor. Why not? You seem quite good at it. Well, I don't have life magic like you do. Most don't, though. That doesn't stop them, surely. Even now you don't have black magic, and yet you still heal people. Imperfect as it is, being a doctor like this, I can still help many people. That's why you became a doctor, then? To help people? There are people in this world who do a great deal of harm. Some who do so much harm, nothing they can do can ever make up for it, even if they wish for it. Oh, is that what it is, Silas? Just imagine blowing their minds with the bacterial theory of disease and why their milk really curdles. That is when they will definitely bring you as a witch. Yep. His voice had gone soft. I almost had to strain to hear him above the sound of people, the clucking of the ducks on the other side of the fountain, the chattering of the sylphids. His eyes were far away in that moment, looking at memories I couldn't see, perhaps hearing sounds I couldn't hear. The wave of sadness that rolled off Silas curled its way through the air thick enough that I thought I'd drown if I breathed it in. My hands tightened on the edge of the fountain. I've seen so much death. I think I just wanted to help balance the world a bit, even if it was just a little. Stupid. Brother. Balance was good, of course. But one person couldn't really balance all the evils in the world, which made me question just what it was he was trying to balance. I know that I haven't been here long, but I believe you must do more than just, a little good. At least from the way the people of this town treat you. Still, wanting to offset some of the ills of the world is quite a noble cause, isn't it? I'm not noble, I assure you. Not at all. Oh. Well, I'll admit the only dictionary I had at the cabin was out of date. There were pages missing. I'll never know what comes after the word pantachronometer, unfortunately. But I do think it fit the definition of noble. I could be wrong, I admit. And there's the quoting of a dictionary. We could go find a dictionary to check. Surely they have one in the library we passed. Perhaps you can read it to me, since, of course, I haven't been reading since I was 4 and don't even know my letters, much less that after the word noble is the word noblesse, and nobody. He laughed at that, some of the sadness falling away, and some still clinging to him, unwilling to let go. You were teasing me again. Maybe just a little. I could read the dictionary to you if you really need it. From the sounds of it, you could probably just recite it. We didn't have many books at the cabin, so... His smile softened again, and the last of the shadows flaked off and didn't return. At least not for now. Thank you. For offering to read you the dictionary? It's not a problem at all. Any time you need it. He laughed again, and I was glad to see him return to normal again. I love the transition. The swirlies. We returned to the inn that afternoon, and Silas walked me to my room. He called it escorting, which I found rather endearing. Not just because it made it sound so much less like I was a prisoner. Or captive, or detainee, or internee. Thank you for the tour and the breakfast, of course. We should do it again. Of course, you're always welcome, Nell. I, too, look forward to the next time we can do this. And that wasn't even a lie, which made me smile even more. When he finally ducked into the hall and closed the door after him, I went to the basin and washed the day's dirt off my face. The bird that had taken nests outside my window returned to tidy up her home, so I poured some of my fresh water into a cup for her and leaned on the windowsill as we chatted about our respective days. The sun began to set, painting the sky and rooftops every shade of pink and red at its disposal, and I said goodbye to my avian friend as the knock on my door heralded the arrival of a maid. That's so cool. I like that change in lighting. That's so cool. It wasn't dinner as I expected, though it was a little early. Instead, a large package she said was from the good doctor. Oh, what did Silas send us? It's quite heavy, and on opening it, I discovered a whole stack of books. Silas had brought me books. I read through the titles and was happy to see that many appeared to be romance, and of course one dictionary, the newest edition. I smiled to myself as I ran my fingers across the covers. so there's still a sense of humor in there somewhere after all. That is so cute! And honestly, I'm a bookworm, so getting a bunch of books like that would make me so happy. In spite of everything, I found I quite liked spending time with him, not just because he put up with my incessant teasing. He was sweet, and I enjoyed watching him, especially when he was smiling and seemed at ease with himself and the world. I hoped I would see him again tomorrow, even if it was only to do my best to ensure he spent as much of it as possible smiling. Okay, good luck with the Wi-Fi, James. Nearly every morning I was up before the night closed up and rolled back to a real day. It was like that in the days that followed, too. Silas would come to my room to greet me, and we would go out to the town. Watching the faces of the townspeople open up to me had been surprisingly enjoyable. The white one of the woods receded, and all that was left for me. What was more enjoyable was seeing Silas open up towards me. Red Beauty and the Beast, yes. Silas opened up towards me, too. The placid smile was gone, replaced by a new one that was warm and had a tracing of yearning that lingered at his corners, though I didn't know what it was he was yearning for. I think I know. It looks like the stream bitrate is unstable, so maybe it's my internet is being kind of a bummer. It was something that stuck in my thoughts, and I tried to puzzle it out in my quiet moments. For me, the little fluttering that liked to dance its way through my chest when he was near was growing quite a bit difficult to ignore, and I thought I really needed to pay attention to it today and work out exactly what it meant. One morning, like all the others, I rose with the sun. I was at the window before the morning shadows had receded to the cracks and crevices to hide from the sun. My pigeon friend returned, and as I combed my fingers through greasy hair and tried to wrestle it away from my face, she told me all about the latest gossip. Not human gossip, of course. She would never. No, this was about how the ducks and pigeons were at it again because the ducks were unwilling to share the stream that flowed through the town. I didn't really understand bird politics any more than I understood human politics, and there were some things you just knew better to wade into, so I just let her rant without sharing an opinion. My breakfast arrived with an envelope tied with a bit of twine tucked under the edge of the chip plate, a curious addition that was a first for me. I suspected it was Silas, though, because who else would write me a note with my breakfast? His handwriting asking me to meet him downstairs was very neat, very much like him. Letters like T's had little flourishes after them, and its E's were charmingly lopsided. My fingertips lingered on a smudge near one corner. There were faint whorls there, the ghosts of a fingerprint that blurred into a hurried smear at the edge of the paper. Who is president of the birds? Good question. As an American, I should say bald eagle, but I don't care. I didn't even realize I was smiling at the simple note until the little feather duster on the window pointed it out. Oh, feather duster, I like it. I suppose I do talk about him a lot. He's one of the only people I know here. Oh, excuse me, ma'am. I didn't realize you weren't hungry this morning. I suppose I'll have to enjoy my breakfast by myself. Thank you very much. If you don't like it, then don't give me such cheek. I can just imagine what the pigeon is saying. We don't even need her side of the conversation. We just know. Though, to be honest, I liked her cheekiness. The mischievousness set a gleeful light to the fae inside of me. And the human side, well, if I gave in to that one, I wouldn't be talking to a pigeon in the first place. This is true. I sat down to eat my breakfast and eventually shared some with my companion, despite my earlier threats. I was going to meet Silas as he said, but I ended up not needing to. When I opened my door to the hall, I was greeted by two familiar voices. Well, that was a generous interpretation. They didn't greet me, they were talking to each other. Silas and Glenn, the cranky captain. And for a moment I was so concerned I would have to spend the day with Glenn instead of Silas that I almost retreated and joined Miss Pigeon on the window ledge. Yes, one of my, the very first OCs that I created was a superhero that could talk to animals, and I named her Animal Lover. In looking back now, that maybe was not the best name to pick, but this was before the days of the internet, so she will never grace the internet beyond a side mention like this. But no, that wasn't it at all. I didn't know why they were talking in the hall outside my room when Silas had requested me to meet him downstairs, which is such a shame after writing such a pretty note, too. And now he had to deal with the conversation with Glenn, who, from his tone of voice, still hadn't decided if he wished to continue life as a human or crawl off to a cave in search of a princess to imprison and gold to hoard. Give me some animal drama, grabbing some tea. Yee. So yeah, even on my PC, the stream is not going smoothly. Also a shame, because with his personality, I really did think life as an angry dragon would suit him very well. Glenn, I don't think I can keep doing this. Setting aside that it could be dangerous, it just doesn't feel right. Yeah, well, you aren't the only one who doesn't like it, Silas, but what can we do if they won't leave on their own? What if they now should be allowed to live free, not bound up in whatever they're going to drag them into in the days ahead? Oh, it was me. They're talking about me. That's probably expected, I suppose. I don't disagree with you, but go and convince that dolt in the curly wig of that. Convince the royal mages of it. Convince Nell Blair of it. You'd have more luck going fishing on the moon. Fishing on the moon? There were fish on the moon, you'd be told if you asked the right people. The trouble was less catching the fish than it was getting up to the moon in the first place. Though I guess either way it would present a problem for Silas. That said, I wasn't sure why Glenn seemed unsure whether I thought I should be allowed to live free. Of course I did. What if you spoke to your uncle personally? He might what, Silas? Listen to me? Me? When has he ever done that in his life? If Duncan Wallace gave an ounce of care for me or what His words cut off suddenly, and I almost peeked around the corner to look at his face because there was surprising anger in his tone. His uncle. Does Glenn have a connection to the Lord of the Realm? Glenn, I miss your grumpy face. I'll drive you crazy. Yes, you will. Oh, Wallace. Lord Wallace. Glenn had said that when they found me. He was Glenn's uncle? That was a surprise. Surely it would make Glenn a noble, wouldn't it? He didn't fit my idea of nobility at all, though I suppose it was like that sometimes. Look at Mayor Callahan, after all. You really couldn't judge one's station by what they look like, otherwise you'd think he was a theater performer, or a court jester of some kind. The more I talked to Nell, the more I realized we've made a terrible mistake. You've grown more attached than I thought you would, Silas. That's dangerous. I perked up at that, the rest of the conversation instantly forgotten. Of course! Silas was attached? To me? He was attached to me? They're blushing, right? Yes, blushing. That was, I set a hand over my heart as the flutters returned in full force. Oh, I didn't realize I was attached to him as well. What a strange revelation to come from Glenn of all people. Listen, I just came to let them know his messengers may be here a little early. There's not much we can do if they're content to wait for what may come. Whether it's some damnable fate responsibility or a lack of understanding what may be in store for them. Figure it out, Silas. That's all I can say. And figure yourself out, too, in the process. I think Glenn only knows because he knows Silas. They sighed in unison, which was enough to make me smile a little. Then I heard Glenn's boots clomping back down the hallway and to the stairs at the end. I hadn't realized Silas was worrying about me that much. I especially didn't realize Glenn was sort of worrying about it, too. Part of me wanted to comfort them a little, to say I didn't intend to be manipulated or moved around like a playing piece on a board. To say that listening was only listening, and that's all I'd promised to do, really. But if I told them that, they might feel obligated to, I don't know, report back to someone. Duty and obligation were difficult things. Chains, really. They might worry about me, but I didn't know if it was enough to try to shatter those chains. And I didn't want to put any of us in a position to find whether sympathy or duty won out. When I heard Silas coming towards my door, I stepped back to give him space to enter. He paused there when he realized I was waiting. "Did you overhear that?" "Well, I heard it, yes," the sigh returned. "Nell, eavesdropping on a private conversation is generally considered rude." There are no eaves in the hallway, though. That reminds me, Lord of the Rings, when Sam's caught listening to Gandalf and Frodo. And he's like, "Have you been eavesdropping?" And Sam's like, "I haven't been dropping no eaves, sir, honest." Come on. There we go. I was secretly listening to your conversation, though. I opened my door to go meet you, and you were standing right there talking. And why didn't you let us know you were there? Does that not constitute listening in secret? Well, it could be splitting hairs, but I wasn't deliberately hiding because I didn't want you to know I was there. I just happened to be out of your line of sight. Oh my gosh, this is like rules lawyering to the umpteenth degree. Indeed, that does seem somewhat pedantic. You could have stepped into the open to let us know you'd exited your room. Yes, but you see, I got distracted imagining Glenn as a dragon who was kidnapping princesses. You... what? You see? And then, before I could say hello, I realized you were talking about me. And finally I didn't interrupt because I was curious. After all, Glenn's son, you're attached to me, I wanted to hear more about it. Silas's eyes went wide, and I think he full well forgot I was getting scolded for eavesdropping. He went so scarlet that I was half convinced I could warm my hands on the heat coming from his face. Oh, I love it. Oh, a pure human would not have brought that up at all, but of course there's that Fae part of them. I love it. I cleared his throat very loudly, and again, very, very loudly. And I thought I was going to break the monocle chain again with how hard he was rolling it between his fingers. We should head down, I think. The morning's getting on, and I wouldn't want to waste your time. He walked quite mechanically out the door, and I thought he looked rather like one of the automatons I'd seen in a shop window the other day. The back of his neck was so very red, and the little flutters sang happily as they danced themselves all the way to the pit of my stomach. A smile lit on my face, and I followed him down to the street. We were on our way to the bakery again. It had become our usual stop in the mornings. Spring was on its full force, and the chill of the night had already disappeared, though it wasn't that late yet. It looked like it was going to be a busy day. There were already quite a lot of people on the footpath. I sneaked a look at Silas as we walked, wondering if I should ask about what Glenn said earlier, that the messengers would arrive a little early, but Silas didn't bring it up, and he knew I'd heard it. So perhaps he was getting his thoughts in order first. I could understand that, and I didn't want to interrupt him if he needed that silence to find whatever words he wanted to say. We just walked side by side without speaking, and that was all right, too. Grandpa used to say that sometimes silence was all right, so I decided to leave it be for now. Yes, good morning. It is a lovely day, isn't it? I repeated the greeting without thinking twice as we passed an orange tabby cat, because who thought twice about saying good morning to someone who said it first? Oh, yes, good morning. I suppose I didn't say it back at the inn. I wasn't talking to you, I was the cat. Silas's face, which had still carried signs of the earlier concern, transformed into a softer smile than I was used to. The cat winked an eye, then disappeared down the way we'd come. I was watching it go, but Silas, I realized, was watching me. The little flutter in my chest was back because they didn't usually watch me at all. Most of the time I was doing the watching, so this was new. The blush. The blush. I don't know if I'm circling their face. I can't even see my cursor. The sylphs chattered in quiet voices as they swept around us in curious wonder. They caught Silas's ponytail, and I thought I'd have to warn them to please not tie it in knots, because that would inconvenience him, and somehow I didn't want to do that at all. But they only caressed it gently, then stole the ribbon, holding it in place, and tossed it up on the nearest roof. Oh! He looks good with his hair down. Hey, you brats, bring that... No, you can't simply start shouting at the sky in the middle of the footpath. Well, I could do it because I just had, though I was shouting at the sylphs rather than the sky. But I didn't say it. It was partially because his hand was covering my mouth anyway, and partially because I was suddenly very distracted by his hair, loose from its ribbon, flowing over his shoulders and in his face. When I thought about it, it was a little surprising. Silas kept his hair long. Surely it would get in his way while working. I wondered if there was a reason for it, or if he just liked it that way. I liked it that way, certainly. When I play with his hair so badly, yes. I mean, I have my hair long, and it's fun to just kind of mess around with it, though it's very inconvenient when it's warm. Silas suddenly seemed to realize something and jumped away from me, the same hand that had just covered my mouth going to his now loose hair. Pink was creeping up over the edge of his collar and cravat. And I thought that this fluttery feeling was on the verge of becoming an infatuation, wasn't it? I captured him by the cuff of his shirt and led him to the nearby fountain where we could sit. I'll tie it up for you. Silas followed in silence, then sat when I told him to. I didn't have another ribbon or a piece of twine or anything, so we'd have to settle for a fairy knot. His hair was soft, finer than mine, and probably less prone to snarls and tangles. I looped it around itself and tied it up that way, tapping the knot once for every hour I wanted it to hold. And after that, it would loosen on its own. Now, about this morning, the conversation that you heard. You don't have to tell me anything more than what I heard, Silas. No matter what you think, I'm not as naive as all that. He twisted around, catching my hands in his, looking unconvinced. Around us in the warming air, the sylph had stirred, kicking up a little breeze, which I thought was the response to Silas holding my hands, but it didn't feel quite like that. Any love interest with long hair, flirty guys, and grumpy love interest is my weakness. Oh, you will like Rhapsody and Arcade Spirits and New Challengers. I'm just saying. There is a grumpy love interest in Arcade Spirits. Although I'm not sure if grumpy is the right word. There is another love interest that has the long hair. And he also happens to be flirty. I turned my eyes upwards, curious. No? Their buzzing increased in intensity. Something seemed wrong. A frown crossed my face. Silas stood, still gripping my hands tight. Nell, is everything all right? I'm not sure. A name clipped through the air and was taken up by the sylphs like a cheer because it was on one they happened to recognize. Grumpy and long hair. No, it's long hair and flirty. No grumpy. The grumpy is someone else entirely. Actually, there's two love interests with long hair in the New Challengers. One is non-binary and the other is he, him. I think someone's looking for you, Silas. What makes you say that? It's the sylphs. They keep repeating your name, which means they heard someone saying it somewhere with enough urgency it caught their attention. Is someone hurt? I don't really know. I should go to my clinic and make sure. No, I do apologize. I was looking forward to spending time together today. I truly was. Well, we did spend time together. Not as much as I would like, but it was still enough. I'm still sorry. Shall I go back to the inn alone? No, I believe it might cause a stir if you were unaccompanied. I'll walk you back. We were silent on the way, if only because the sylphs were buzzing so loudly in my ears I wouldn't been able to focus on a conversation otherwise. They were anxious and frantic by the time I sent Silas on his way, but they wouldn't breathe a word about why, no matter how much I tried to coax it out of them. I sulked back up to the room I'd barely left, went to the window to wait for news on what was happening, from the pigeons, from the wind, not from the crows. They said a fire had burned the clock tower, and I knew that wasn't true because I could see it from my window. Yeah, I think they said in the last week, not to trust crows. What was happening, though, I still didn't know by the time evening fell. A letter finally came via the maid as the first stars began their nightly chorus from afar. An envelope tied with twine and handwriting with little flourishes on the T's and charmingly lopsided E's. Someone was sick, he said, quite severely, and they needed his care. He apologized for leaving so abruptly, but also thanked me for letting him know that he was needed. He wished me well. He said that he was disappointed our time had been cut short. I traced my fingers over the letters and smiled that he took the time to let me know. He was also disappointed we'd lost our time together. The little flutters settled happily in my heart again, and I tried to ignore them. I really did. I knew I'd never be able to send a letter back to this late at night, so at my open window I cupped my hands around my mouth and whispered a good night to the breeze. Be sure to get some rest, Silas. You've earned it, I'm sure. And the words went dancing away into the night to find the person they were meant for. I had hoped he wouldn't be too startled, but given that it was him, I thought he'd just accept it, as he accepted all my other antics. I waited a little longer and finally shut the window against the cold air and went to find my bed. Part 6, in which absence makes Nell's heart grow fonder. I was fond of Silas. I knew that because it was obvious from the little flutters that had taken up residence in the hollow of my chest when he was near. Okay, that's not doing any good, so let's close that. I really did not expect that not seeing him at all would make me fonder still. It was the fayish side of me, you see. When he was near, I could fall like a leaf on a spring breeze, but now that he was gone, my heart had grown impatient, so I felt just like a brick dropped from the top of the clock tower. And I fell heart first, of course. Silas didn't come to see me the next day, or the day after that, or the day after that, so that's 3 days. At the end of the first day, he sent another letter, and I sent him a note on the breeze like I had before. His letter was not terribly long, but he filled it with anecdotes he didn't have the chance to tell me during the day. A book he had seen that he thought I'd like, that he saw a duck and a pigeon fighting one another in the street. Bird politics. Bird politics were growing more violent, it seemed. He told me that he felt the last of winter's breath fading from the morning, he thought. So many things he didn't say when we were together. I saved the letter with the others, placing it between the pages of one of the books he'd sent me before. I responded on the breeze, and this time received a hesitant and soft good night in return. I clutched the words to my chest, holding them as long as I could before the whisper faded. It felt like a warm breath that breathed a quiet flame in my heart to life. Ooh, this is so sweet! There was a letter the second day, too, and when I responded that night, there was another hesitant reply, and then we spoke on the breeze for a little while until his sleepy voice faded enough I knew he'd nodded off at last. The day after that, there was no letter, nor the one after that, so that's 4 days. Surely he was busy, so that was why I hesitated to prod him first with another nightly message. What if he was asleep? I didn't wish to wake him. Even if part of me longed to have him only spend his time with me, the human part reasoned that he would visit me soon. By the 4th day, with no word from him, I wanted to crawl from my window and tear through the town to find him. So that's 6 days. The Sylphs had been in a perpetual frenzy, and the weather reflected it. I knew the malaise keeping Silas busy was getting worse. It was worrying everyone. The maid, the innkeeper, even the pigeons and the mice were stressed. A veil had fallen over the town, a sense of dread as thick as molasses and just as unpleasant to look at and smell. One side of me knew that the town needed Silas. He was their healer, or one of the more important ones. I knew there were other doctors in town, but Silas was the best of them, I was certain. But the other side of me, the Fae side, wanted to find him and take him far away from this place filled with sickness. Someplace warm and safe, someplace where it was just us. I had never felt such a sense of yearning before. No matter what I knew of love, I had never really thought about how it would feel to experience it myself. This terrifying and beautiful combination of wanting and not being able to have would truly do me in. Verona had gone quiet under the onslaught of whatever illness had threatened it, and I didn't know what it meant for the messengers coming to speak with me. But I knew one thing. I needed to see Silas again before they arrived, which was why there finally came a morning after that I did indeed climb out of my window while the fog was still thick through the streets, to go and find him. The Fae side of me had finally won out. The town was eerily silent. Not the signs of a cold winter morning, signs of a dying tree not yet reclaimed by the forest due to the poison it poured. I looked around for birds, but none flew in between the buildings and nested in their rafters. That, I thought, was strange. A human ailment shouldn't affect the birds this way. Even the domestic fae that usually hung around couldn't be found as I searched for Silas. Something felt off, and I regretted that I hadn't left my room until now. I broke into a run. The sylphs drew me towards the town well, with whispers of Silas's name lighting in the breeze. I didn't know why or where they were leading me, but I trusted them enough to follow. I found Silas under the eaves of a house, luckily out of the rain, but still damp with morning dew. Gone were the gentle flowers in my heart, to be replaced with an icy stutter that clawed at my ribs. Oh no! What's going on? The small puff of his breath in the cold morning air brought me a sense of relief greater than anything I'd felt in my life. I called forth a warm wind and blanketed him in that while he slept. It didn't take long for color to begin to return to his face, but he did not wake. He wasn't feverish, and there were no marks of magic around him. I thought that he was just exhausted. He had worked himself into this state, dealing with whatever sickness troubled the townspeople, because it was just like him to throw himself into the abyss or break himself apart for others. I stood, brushing myself off. Whatever this was, it was time to end it. Whatever poison or toxin or sickness, I would find it and deal with it myself. Whatever promises I'd made to Grandpa no longer mattered. They were long since broken anyway, and now it was time to stop standing to the side and watching. I made sure that Silas was comfortable before I turned to the sylphids. Find me the source. The eyes! The eyes! Eee! The magic! I didn't mean to put a stronger command in front of them, but I was desperate. And I was angry. They fluttered in agitation, and as the indignant chattering I turned to look behind me. The well? Suspicious. Was it possible something had poisoned the water source? That would make sense with how many people fell ill at once, but it should have been the first place they checked. And yet, I was cautious as I approached the well, and almost right away I realized what it was. The dark tendrils creeping from inside the stone structure, spilling over the edge. Whether it was a response to me taking notice of it, or if they'd been there all along, I wasn't sure. What I was certain of was that this was no ordinary sickness. This was a wild fae. Oh boy. I wasn't sure what type or why it had decided to make its abode there. Wild fae didn't mix well with humans. Most were controlled by their emotions or sometimes just their instincts. They didn't think in human ways and usually stayed away from human territories. Yet somehow this cranky squatter had ended up in the town well. It might not have even meant to cause any harm. But it had. It had hurt the townspeople, and it had hurt Silas. It had hurt my Silas. What do you think you are doing here? A deep moan echoed from the well. That's all well and good, but it's not an answer at all. That isn't a place you can live. It's time for you to go. I reached the edge of the stone structure and ignored the tentacles that were just fairy glamour anyway. I was looking for its real body and didn't see the sneak attack coming until malignant water splashed in my face. Bent over, coughing the disgusting muck back out of my mouth. You little... I said it's time for you to leave. Another deep moan echoed not just from the well this time, but from between the stones and underneath the ground. Truly, I didn't want to hurt it, just to get it to move on. No doubt being stuck in a town full of humans wasn't good for it either. If we didn't leave willingly, they'd find a way to make it, and they'd use methods much more ruthless than me. I'd sent a strong wind down the well to scoop up the wild fae and drag it up to the surface. The dark tendrils shot out from the well in all directions, seeking to find some sort of anchor in the cobbles and cracks around it. But my magic was stronger, and I was going to drag it up to the light of day, whether it liked it or not. Shadows seeped towards me like musty slime as the Fae did its best to scare me away. Inky tendrils surrounded me, crawling up my ankles and trying to bind my limbs. I hadn't had many confrontations with wild Fae before I left the mountains, and some were quite dangerous. Otherwise, they tried to frighten me with illusion, because that was all they had. This one hadn't shown its true strength yet, but then neither had I. Stop being so stubborn and just get out. Stagnant water poured onto me as I stood there, wrapped in shadows that were half illusion and half made of manky ether. I coughed and spluttered, hoping I'd be able to get the moldy smell off later. That's enough! My voice reverberated through the well, all the way to the bottom, and I gave a solid yank as the whirlwind reached deep down into the water. A shower of it fell on us, and something wet and slimy landed next to me with a thump. The dark tendrils retreated as the Fae, far less intimidated than it tried to appear, shivered and covered its head. I felt a little bad as I stooped low and went loping down the street, its huge feet flapping against the stone cobbles in a way that sounded, for all the world, like a very large duck. Politely leave and then fight with it. Yes. Make sure it gets to the forest safely. The sylphids went whirling after it, and I hoped it found a very nice, very muddy pond to live in far away from the town. And now to deal with the leftovers. The Fae was gone, but the well was still blackened and had putrid smell rising from the bottom. Purifying it wasn't that big a job. I simply had to send my magic down to chase the dark threads of Fae magic the wild Fae had left behind and pull them out like weeds. The glob of seeping darkness I pulled out I could simply disperse into the air, leaving the water source clean and free of contamination once more. It was easy. It took only a few minutes, really. I had shown the same power to the mayor when I first arrived. But now, what to do about the villagers? Maybe I should visit them with Silas when he wakes up. They should recover on their own, I would think. Silas! I spun towards him at the sound of his voice and rushed to his side. I was elated to see him awake and standing. Are you all right? I cupped his face with my hands, delighted to feel the warmth return to his body. He still looked tired, though. I'm fine now. He smiled softly as I covered my hands in his and drew them from his face, only to pull them tight to his chest instead. My face and heart warmed at the sight of our hands entwined. Okay, obviously gotta save. All the way down. What were you doing out here in the cold and rain? I'm not sure. I was visiting a patient and I think I just needed a moment to rest my eyes. Outside? In the rain? Silas, you need to take better care of yourself. It was just for a moment, before I stopped by another house. Surely I don't have to be the one to tell you that no matter how bad a situation is, it's not wise to sleep in the rain. No, this time, if you're not careful, I'll be the one lecturing you. And I can't imagine Glenn will ever let you hear the end of it if he learns that you had to be told not to sleep in the rain by the likes of a wild child from Lifthelm Mountain. Glenn never lets me hear the end of anything anyway. Well, there you go. I'm right after all, aren't I? You purified the well. You chased off the culprit, I think. I couldn't fully make out what was happening, but you seemed to be fighting something. Some sort of wild fae had taken up residence in the well. I'm not sure why, but it's gone now. You know now, you're amazing. I didn't do much, really. I just relocated a particularly prickly tenant that had no business moving in. You saved so many people, though. Who knows what would have happened if this continued much longer. And these are people that, well, I suppose not everyone would have been so inclined to help were they in your position. It was truly noble of you. And there was that sense of humor again. But even so, I didn't want to tell him that I had mostly done it for him rather than the townsfolk. It seemed like it might tarnish the rosy view he had of me at the moment, and I liked the way he was looking at me far too much to do that. Come on, with that bit taken care of, we need to get you somewhere warm so you can rest properly. No, I'm afraid I can't do that yet. I still need to tend the sick and make sure their symptoms begin to ease up now that they have clean water to drink again. Do we get to fuss at the doctor? The doctor who doesn't take care of himself? Seems fitting. The person who's taking care of everyone needs someone to take care of them. No, Silas, if you want to help people, then what you need is to rest. I can't, no, not yet. Silas, I just found you passed out in the street. How much help do you think you'll be to people in this state? That's fair. I'm fine, no. You're not, and you're so obviously not. That lie couldn't even form properly. Let me help you, Silas. No, I need to do this. Why? Why do you work yourself so hard, and why are you so convinced that you have to do it alone? A frown passed over Silas's face as his eyes drifted over my shoulder. No, a long time ago, I hurt a lot of people. Did you know that between Glenn and I was the one your grandfather considered his most promising student? I didn't know that. I was very young, so I'm not sure I'd even have known what that meant. I was something of a prodigy, is what he said, and during the war, my commander put those skills to great use. I knew it. I knew he was doing this because he felt guilty for all the lives he'd taken. Yes, time for us to be his personal nurse. Those bloody and horrible days. Imagine being so skilled that it only caused him pain. Imagine having such a talent for bloodshed. His voice was laced with pain, sharp as knives, and fresh as a wound only just carved into his skin. His gaze lowered to his hands as he spoke. He had released mine, and now his were in front of his body, fingers curled like they were trying to hold on to something only Silas could see, sleeping through his fingers. I have so much blood on my hands now. So much, and I don't know how many I have to save to undo the things I did back then. I can't. I don't want to fight anymore. But you're not fighting. I know, but... Silas took a deep breath before his gaze returned to mine. There was so much guilt in his beautiful eyes. He always hid it so well, behind the calm and the smiles, but it pooled in those green eyes like tears that could never spill over. Grandpa had been the same on occasion. Sometimes I'd catch him staring into the distance, a look of deep sadness in his eyes. There were many things I didn't know about human countries, but I did know that war makes everyone a murderer. Whether it was for country, money, power, or family, that was why it was war. Silas let out a hollow laugh, a sound that made my heart clench. I wanted to take his pain and throw it into the sky and let the wind sweep it away to be buried on whatever battlefield still haunted him. But his pain wasn't mine to take. All I could do was love him. You must think it's barbaric, how humans wage our wars. I'm not sure why you think Fae don't have their wars. I don't know much about Fae politics, but I've heard things on the mountain. There have been many Fae wars. It's not a uniquely human failing, Silas. I didn't realize. Fae courts are just as bad as human courts, maybe worse. All the backstabbing and fighting, conflict is as natural as breathing to all living things, from barnyard animals to humans to the highest of the Fae courts. Regret, I think, is also not unique to humans. If you thought we were above such things, I am sorry to disappoint. Now that you put it that way, it does seem rather silly. I chuckled at his contrite smile. The light that had rekindled in his eyes made me so happy. It was fragile still. I had a feeling it was always fragile. And more than anything, that made me want to drag him to the inn with me for a meal and rest. Or somewhere far away to the deep woods where he could leave everything that tormented him behind, if I was being completely honest. But this, I thought, was important to him. It was better to let him go and take care of the people in the town for now, because it was important to him and he was important to me. I took his hands again, turning them over to study the palms. They weren't soft, but any calluses from the weapons he must have once wielded were gone. Only a few faint scars across his knuckles remained. I was just thinking that on your hands, I don't see a single drop of blood. So perhaps you ought to get a new monocle, because I think that one may be broken. Oh, it's like when Esmeralda was reading Quasimodo's line in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. She doesn't see any monster lines. A dry chuckle escaped him. Perhaps, but I think when the past makes it all so easy... Wait. But I think when the past makes it so all you see is blood that isn't there, it's time to let it go, or to at least begin that journey, long and hard as it may be. Silas squeezed my hand like he just found a candle in the storm and didn't want to let it go. I squeezed back and struggled to find the rest of the words I wanted to say. I get it. I like it. She's like, yeah, so you need to let it go. But yeah, it's not that easy. It's not that simple. There was so much, but the words stuck in my mouth like sap, and whatever words were there had disappeared. I'll come see you soon, I promise. But today, I may be too busy to write again. It's all right. I would rather you sleep than write. In a house, preferably. With a blanket, most definitely not in the rain. If I catch you in the rain again, I will not take kindly to it, Silas, and I will know if you do it again. The sofas won't rat you out. I'll make sure someone does. Then I'll be sure to avoid naps in the rain. We just got rid of one angry fae. I'd hate to unleash another one on the town. Exactly. You are a mercy now, and neither I nor this town deserves your kindness, but thank you for it. This was the first time Silas didn't walk me back to the inn. He turned away and walked slowly down the street. And now I had to get back to the inn before they noticed I was gone. And this time I hoped it wouldn't be days on end before I saw Silas again. Tap. Tap. I woke to the sound of something hitting my window before the sun had taken to the sky. At first I thought my pigeon friend had returned and was trying to be let in. When I went to the window and opened it, I was surprised to see Silas waiting for me below. Oh! I leaned on the sill and gave him a cheeky smile. The smile that he retained gleamed pale in the pre-dawn glow, just creeping through the darkness overhead. Silas McCurran, are you throwing rocks at my window? That appears to be the case. And what can I do for you this fine morning? Nell, I need you to come down. My eyes flashed with excitement. Oh, are we sneaky now? Something like that. My, what trouble you will get me into, Doctor. Who would have thought you would be encouraging bad behavior? What will our cranky captain say to you taking me on a little adventure? Gwen will understand. Out the window? Yes, and that would be best, and you should bring what things with you that you don't want to leave behind. Oh, I see. He wanted me to leave. I considered whether I wanted to argue, but I thought for now I'd listen to him. Just listen. That was all I ever promised anyone at all. I threw my gloves on, I threw my things together, and I left the room a mess that normally I would not have, but I didn't want to make him wait in the chill any longer. And in the end, no one ever left things as they found them. Not truly. Perhaps I would be back. No one knew. When I returned to the window, he was still there. He leaped up to the windowsill with both feet, and as I jumped, he opened up his arms to me, face awash with surprise, as if he hadn't been expecting me to jump. The little whirlwind carried me down softly to his waiting arms. I didn't need him to help me, but I liked the feeling of his arms around me too much to tell him that. This is so romantic. I wondered if he could see my feelings in my expression, if I could see his feelings in his. But then he released me, stepping away, and caught me delicately into his hand as if that would deny it all. Silas pulled a parcel from his satchel and held it towards me. I brought you the sweetbread that you like. The bakers are already awake, and I stopped by before. I took it from him, but didn't open it just yet. Come, let's walk. The morning was quiet with expectation. Silence hung on spiderweb silk, just waiting for something to shatter it. I looked up at his determined face with hesitance. How are the townsfolk? I'm already seeing improvement. I do wonder why the poor thing took a precedence in that well, but I'm glad that it's gone. Yes, fae do not belong where humans can hurt them. Or where they can hurt humans. I don't believe you would hurt anyone here, only the other way around. Where are we heading? A disused gate at the edge of the town proper. Someone will be meeting us there. Someone. Now, listen to me. You have to leave. Lord's messengers arrived at a nearby parish 2 days ago. The only reason they haven't come to Bern was because of what looked like an epidemic, and now that it's gone, they'll be coming here for you. Silas, I can't. They have Clarice. It's all right. She will be taken care of. But how can you be sure? I'm sure now. Please, trust me. I do trust you, Silas. Of course I do. And I did with my whole heart. But you know I don't trust that mayor of yours. No one with a mustache. That antagonist can really be trustworthy if he thinks I broke my promise first. No, you don't have to worry about that. Glenn still has enough sway to make sure Clarice is safe. I'll take her in myself if I have to now. But who would keep him safe? I promised to talk to the Lord or his men. And Duncan Moss doesn't wish to speak with you. Didn't he send someone else in his stead? And when you really think about it, the city's guards are all the Lord's men. That included the mayor. You've spoken to many of the Lord's men already. I blinked twice at him as that fact flopped to the ground between us. In truth, he wasn't wrong. What Fae-like reasoning! I'm impressed! I learned from the very best. We reached Silas's disused gate, but there was no one there. Silas muttered that we must have made it first. Then he turned to me, and his hand found my cheek, cupping it with reverence that stole my breath. And for a long, terrifying moment, the little voice murmured it would be fine, then, to steal Silas in return. I did my best to smile as prettily at Silas as I could while I stomped that stupid Fae voice into the mud. Now, I'm so sorry. For what? For holding you prisoner here. Oh, Silas, sweet, silly Silas. I hoped this wouldn't be another burden he would bear. I never wanted to be that for him. It wasn't you at all, though. I let it happen. Silas, I let it happen, you silly man. And even if it was your fault, I'd forgive you in an instant. I don't deserve, because you bought me so many sweet buns and showed me coffee and gave me books. No, and because you are quite handsome. And because I still very much love spending time with you, Silas. His eyes widened at my words, but then a look of pain swept across his face. So many unspoken words swam frantically around his head and shoulders. They dropped to the ground one by one as he chose not to say them. His thumb stroked softly against my skin. A shaky breath escaped him. No, Sorry to interrupt. I couldn't react before Silas moved away from me, and from the look on his face, I suspected this was who we were meeting. Layton? Latin? Lachant? Who's a wizard, and Fae at that? How in the world does Silas know a wizard? Silas, what's happening? Last night after I finished with my work, I found Lachant waiting for me at my house. He offered to help get you out of here. Before you ask, I have known Lachant for many years, and I trust him. Why is there a wizard here, and how do you know him? Silas pointed towards the tower in the distance, the one perched above the southwoods. He's the tower's master, and he's Glenn's cousin. Is Glenn related to everyone? Because that would be both strange and terrifying, and yet it's seeming like a possibility. I believe Glenn is only related to the Wallace family, including me and my idiot father. All right, I'll let that statement rest for now. Why are you helping me? Truth be told, it seemed interesting, and I do rather like interesting things, so here I am. Ah, and the truth? Your presence has been a great help to the area, of course, so I wish to repay you. If you lie to me or give me a half-truth once more, I'm returning to the inn. Lachant, please, we are short on time. The sun is already rising. Oh, very well. Nell Blair, I want you to help me with my research. I've even made a quaint little cottage not far from my tower for you to stay in. It's quite beautiful, actually. Tremendous work on my part. Something plagues the Southwoods, and talented as I am, I've struggled to resolve it for over a year. I need your help. Silas, what is that little sneak? I didn't realize he was gone from behind me until I turned. Damn him. You're not going far, but the Southwoods are my domain. Callahan, my father, the Queen herself, none of them can reach you there. And Silas? Only if you wish it. Silas had solved the problem of my promise, and he insisted Clarice would be fine. Could always check in on that as well. Very well. Take me to this cottage of yours and explain your research in more detail. The next time I saw Silas, I would definitely tread on his toes for running away like that. In a blink of an eye, and with a wave of his hand, I was suddenly standing in front of the most cozy cottage I had ever seen, nestled in the most idyllic clearing. I hope it's to your liking. Does it have frogs in the fireplace? No. I can procure them if you want, I'm sure. No, definitely not. I looked around the forest, taking a breath. The air was clear, but something did feel strange. The aether well in the forest has been drying up for some time. I'm not sure why. I'm sure you can feel if you pay attention. No doubt you have seen the effects of this, the increased monster presence in the forest, the erratic behavior of wild fae. Oh, erratic fae. I don't have to explain to you the dire consequences of what happens when the pool runs dry. the valley would die. They'd been trying to find the reason why. Precisely, and frankly, I've been having no luck with finding the reason or delaying the effects. That is, until you came along. Me? What did I do? Truth be told, I don't know, but your presence since you came down from the mountain, in fact, has had a stabilizing effect on the remaining ether. Interesting. But I'm certain we still need to find the source. Well, it was not as bad as I'd expected when I first met him, and it was a problem that needed solving. One chapter closes and another begins. I blinked my eyes and everything had changed again. I'll leave you to get settled in. We have plenty of time to discuss our partnership going forward. Oh, and I almost forgot. Make sure you don't stray past the stone marker to the north. That's the end of my domain. See you soon. And he was gone. I stood a long moment in the clearing, listening to the wind move through the trees. I have to tell the Sylphids that I'd gone. They would look for me, no doubt. How far were we from the town? The top of LaShawn's tower had never seemed that far away, but it was magic, so looks meant nothing. I'd have to ask the birds or squirrels. There was a surprising amount to do for now. Indeed, I had to get settled in and find out more about LaShawn's problem and wait for whatever change came next. I thought that was it. Oh my goodness, there's more. And my Twitch app decided to shut down on me for some reason. I still have half an hour. I started late, so I'll finish late. And which now behaves in a very like way. A week later, my books showed up. They were the only thing I left behind because I couldn't carry them with me, except the one romance novel where I kept Silas's letters safe. I thought at first that it meant Silas had come, but it was just LaShawn. Part of me felt guilty to be so crestfallen when it was just him, and he had certainly tried to make me feel guilty for it. But in the end, there was no hiding that LaShawn was not the man I wanted to see so badly. And I didn't understand why Silas couldn't travel a mere 5 miles to the cottage. Perhaps it was still too dangerous, my human side reasoned, if not to me and LaShawn, but to Silas and Glenn perhaps. And even if they wouldn't be in danger, Silas was gentle and cautious. He would wait until it was safe because he wouldn't want unnecessary fighting of any kind. Well, my human side argued that at least. I thought he might also wish to stay and tend to the recovering townsfolk. They would surely take more than 1 or 2 days to return to normal after the Fae had been evicted from the well. It was all right. He would come soon. He would come to visit me soon. But unfortunately, the only one that came to visit was LaShawn. LaShawn visited a lot, in fact, mostly for his research, sometimes for tea, usually for both. The cottage had a garden, and I used that to grow plants to test the ether well because plants were always very sensitive to magic energy. It's so pretty. 2 weeks passed, 3, an entire month, and still Silas had not shown up. He was fine, LaShawn told me. He was fine, the birds sang. He was fine, the Sylphids whispered. My human side told me he had a reason. Silas was the sort who would always have a reason. But more and more these days, my Fae side was slipping through that human voice. It whispered that humans were fickle and callous. Hadn't Grandpa told us so? Hadn't we seen it for ourselves over and over in the damned human town? Silas hadn't even said goodbye, just scurried away at the first opportunity like he was afraid of me, like all the tender, fleeting moments between us had been false. It whispered that I could go and take him, and I very well could. The truth was that Silas had never promised to visit me after I left Bern. I just assumed that he would. But if he was fine, and if the town was fine, then that meant Silas was choosing not to come. I wanted to go to him, sent him messages on the wind to ask if I could come. I never got a reply, and he wasn't going to come. I didn't realize just how sour my mood had gone until I pricked my thumb on a thorn. on a tomato plant. Because, damn it, the plants were sensitive to ether, and the ether was currently sensitive to me. And I was a very, very cranky fae. I'd considered revenge. I'd considered a tornado to sweep away his house, to toss his shoes in the fountain, to break his monocle in exactly 500 pieces. I had thought about locking all my feelings of love and affection in a cold corner of my heart so they could shrivel and starve. I thought about all the things I could— Ouch! Damn it! I pricked my thumb again. You know, you could go visit him instead of sulking in the forest because he didn't come to you first. I'm not sulking. Your tomatoes are growing thorns now. You're sulking hard enough, the entire forest is going to start sprouting thorns soon. You've been sulking ever since he sent you away, and even more since he didn't come to visit. Because he sent me away, so how can I be the first one to return? Shouldn't it be him? I listened to him. I left, and I needed him to come and find me to let me know he didn't want me to leave. Are you just going to let it go like that? Why not? Stories are like that sometimes, unfinished. Like a breeze that passed by and blew your clean laundry on the ground without looking back. No, humans aren't like that, and this isn't a story. It's a life. Humans are not like fae. They don't let bonds wither so easily. Sometimes not even bonds they don't wish to keep. So he was appealing to my human side. It still didn't feel right. It was out of balance, like a clock where the hands would never strike 12. It felt like going against the natural order. Maybe I should go to him, though. Go to him and tread on his stupid toes for making me wait. And then I could let him tread on mine for making him wait, so I knew he would never tread on my toes. Not intentionally. So I'd have to settle for an apology. It's settled then, I see. If I go and he refuses to see me, I'm going to tear at least 3 roofs off houses while I'm there. Why 3? First Silas's, then the mayor's, and then Glenn. Oh dear, what has my cousin done to be included in your hypothetical ire? Nothing, I just wouldn't want him to feel left out. I arrived on the outskirts of the village later that afternoon. I didn't walk. Not this time. I flew there on the breeze like an almost true sylph. I was a little wobbly when swimming in the air like the others. It was the only thing I ever blamed on my mother instead of my father. The sylphs followed me all the way, their chorus heralding my return to absolutely no one, because I landed on the outskirts and no one could see or hear them anyway. That day first arrived felt so far away, and strangely, that now felt distant too. It hadn't even been that long ago, but I was no longer that person, was I? The first time I had arrived on foot from the north, a dirty half-Sylph lost in a world too big for them to understand. And now I was arriving from the south through the air, and the world was still too damn big for me to understand, but somehow I felt more grounded in it than I had a few months ago. And that, my friends, is what we call progress, or a paradigm shift. You there! Oh, for fuck. Really? You're under arrest. Technically, I'm under nothing but the blue sky and that particular cloud. Mitchell did not laugh. Alas. Owen clipped a set of iron cuffs from his belt, which was strange because I'd never seen any of the guard carry iron cuffs before, especially not ones so loudly declaring how badly they wanted to sink their teeth into my wrists. That could only mean they'd been waiting for my return. And they thought those irons would hold me this time. Oh dear. I did realize one thing in that moment. Spending 2 months in the company of an archmage had suddenly shifted my perspective from one of cautiously hiding my magic, like my grandfather had taught me, to one of embracing it. The sylphs were already laughing because they knew just what was coming, and well, they listened to me a little better now. Just a little. Please do remove that thing from his hands. I really don't like them at all. And the air spirits descended on the 2 men with such vigor they really were fortunate they weren't ripped apart. I didn't have to lift a finger, which made me happy because I knew that others would approve of it more. Not just Silas, but surely Glenn and even Clarice as well. Oh, come to think of it, probably not Clarice. I could only imagine her cackle if she was here to witness this now. Mitchell and Owen were cowering once again. The musket was gone, the iron shackles were gone, and the one person I had wanted to see was already running towards me down the road, calling my name. How he'd known I was here, I wasn't sure. Nell! At the sound of my name from his lips, everything went calm, like the world had decided to hold its breath. The sylphs went silent as they waited to see what I would do. And whatever anger I had already began to fall apart when I saw him. Silas approached me as Glenn hung back to keep an eye on the other 2 now struggling to their feet. I had a feeling there were surely more about, but I wouldn't worry about it for now. Silas? I couldn't help the smile that came to my face at the sight of him. I knew it was you. I saw the strange wind, and I knew. My smile faded as I looked at him. He was haggard. Dark circles had set up camp under his eyes, and it looked like they were taking rent from him rather than paying it. Oh dear. He had been working himself too hard again. But why? Surely not another epidemic. I wanted to scoop him up in that moment and make off with him into the forest without so much as a hello. No. I held up a hand to stop him first because I had something I needed to know. Why didn't you come visit me? I waited and you never came. That same look of pain I had witnessed before crossed over his face again before it softened. No, what are you doing here? Why have you returned? Answering a question with a question is certainly a Fae trick, but it won't work on me. I asked first. And for the record, I was going to tread on your toes for making me wait. I had it all planned out. But I suppose I've wreaked enough havoc to satisfy my vindictive little Fae heart for now. So answer my question. No, it's not that simple. What's not simple? Visiting me? How is a visit not simple? I'm 5 miles away as the wind blows. I have patients to attend. I have to go now. I'm sorry. You idiot! I turned away for a moment. All I could think about was how tired I was going to be after destroying some roofs. Oh, no you don't. I thought he was talking to Mitchell and Owen at first and thought surely they were getting up to some kind of nonsense that maybe I needed to add 2 roofs to the list. But no, he's blocking Silas from walking away from me again. Oh! Is he helping us? Silas, you're being an idiot. Don't turn your back on this. Glenn? Listen, Silas, you've been miserable for 2 months. Not only is it incredibly frustrating to watch, but you've been making me miserable too. You work day and night, and when you're not working, you come to me and want to talk. And all you talk about is that damn Faerie standing over there. So no, I'm not letting you leave, not until you talk to them. Yes! Thank you, Glenn! Silas was, to my surprise, looking very much like he was considering whether he could body slam Glenn and run away. I admit I was almost tempted to watch to find out whether he could or not. But instead, I took him by the cuff of his sleeve, and somehow just that gesture alone pinned him in place, as if he was the one who'd been shackled in iron. Can you at least tell me why? Because I'm Fae? Because I'm strange? For what reason are you trying so hard to walk away from me, Silas McCurran? No, I could see him trying to form the words, but they seemed to leave his throat half-formed, incomplete, and unable to say what he wanted. How? Take your time. I only said it because I felt his growing panic and thought he may well actually try to flee if we didn't have some reassurance in that moment. Silas closed his eyes as he fought to release the words. How could I ever deserve you? I wanted to come. I wanted it more than anything. But how could I? What? I was almost certain my entire being shut down for a good minute while I tried to figure out what that meant. I knew it. Once I realized that he was deliberately staying away for some reason, I was like, this is why. This is why. He doesn't think he deserves them. Like an idiot. Humans said and did many confusing things. Faye too, really. But that was quite possibly the strangest thing I'd ever heard anyone say. What did it mean to deserve someone else? Now, how could I ever be enough for you? You're too good for someone like me. No, I still did not understand. Glenn, is this a normal human thing? Do humans worry about things like that? Glenn sighed. Some do. This one does. But how can one person be too good for another? What does that even mean? What happened when someone who was too good spent time with someone who was less good? How did you know goodness levels? It made so little sense that I came to the immediate conclusion it was just fabrication. A delusion, even. That is correct, by the way. You know what I've done now. How could I ever be good enough for you with so much blood on my hands? You're kind and more generous than people deserve, and there is no blood on your hands, Silas. We've talked about this. You know that's not what I meant when I didn't understand, and honestly, I didn't think I ever could. To carry so much guilt and assume you would be forever chained down by your past. But it didn't matter if I could understand it or not. That was the reality Silas lived in. So instead, I took his face in my hands. It doesn't matter who is too good for whom, then. No one loves someone because they believe they're perfect, Silas. We love them with all their cracks and broken edges included. This is important. I'm going to put this in save here. I don't want you because you have the cleanest hands. I just want you because you are you. My lips found his, which I might not have been certain was the best punctuation for that particular sentence. Certainly it wasn't grammatically correct in the strictest sense. But I was a sylph. We just went where everything's led, and that was where I was led in that moment. A startled sound released from Silas as he froze in place. I had the clarity of thought to suspect that indeed this wasn't the smartest decision I'd ever made, but wasn't the dumbest either, so there was that comfort at least. But when he moved his mouth against mine and his arms found their way around my waist, that thought flew away to join the sylphids in the sky, and I decided it was the best plan I had ever had. I could taste his longing, feel the earnestness of his feelings, and I knew that regardless of what might come out of his mouth when it passed, and this moment was true, and it was perfect. When the kiss broke, Silas pulled away to look at me with so much awe, I didn't even feel worthy of it, like he was looking at the most precious thing in all the world. I brushed away the hair that had fallen in front of his eyes so I could stare into them when I said my next words. There are many things I don't know, Silas, many things I've never experienced, but what I do know is that you are my perfect match, just the way you are. I knew right away. Well, no, not right away, but very, very quickly. When Glenn said you were attached to me, I knew for sure. I saw you sleeping in the rain and was so angry. When I was mad enough you didn't come to visit me, I made tomatoes grow thorns. And when that anger vanished completely the moment I saw you again, I knew. Now, the way my name formed on his lips sent a shiver of journey down my spine. I clasped my arms around his neck and smiled. I want to hear you say my name 1,000 times over. I want to spend the rest of my life hearing you say it in all the ways you can. With longing, with love, and yes, even with exasperation sometimes. I want you, Silas. Just you. I could do without the gagging noises Glenn is making right now as he stomps going back into the mud, but I'm sure we'll manage that somehow. Silas laughed and pulled me into a close embrace. Oh no. I want that too, more than anything. Well, sadly we won't be able to accommodate that, of course. Ugh. I had really never wanted to see that awful leg again, especially when accompanied by the man who usually wore it and made several more guards with iron chains and muskets. I almost felt sorry for them for thinking those chains could hold me. Almost. Captain Ashford, I have no idea what you're doing there, but I'm ordering you to arrest those two this instant. Glenn took one look at us and then burst into laughter. I'm sorry, just to clarify, you want me to arrest him? Silas McCurran. Silas McCurran? At this point, Glenn was almost doubled over with laughter. Gods, arrest them! The guards began to advance on us. Oh, bother. As one guard lunged for us, I began to summon my own magic instead of the sylphs this time, but before I knew it, the man was on the ground, groaning. Silas stood over him and had somehow divested the man of his sword. I didn't even see how that happened. This is why. Yeah, Glenn's like, I don't want him to kick my butt, because Glenn knows what Silas is capable of. No wonder Glenn had laughed at the mayor's order. In no time at all, Silas had fought off two more of the guards who thought they would try their luck. He was so graceful as he moved, as quick as the wind, and I would know just how quick the wind could move. It was almost like a dance, a very dangerous and slightly stabby dance. And here I thought he'd be out of practice, but now you can see why I have never even once beat him in combat before. He was fascinating to watch, but I remembered Silas's words. He didn't want to fight anymore, but he was fighting for me, for us. And if it continued, Glenn would join in. Then I might have to kidnap him too, which was not really in the plan. So it was my turn to step in with enough wind to knock back his opponents and to lift myself in the air. I joined Silas, wrapping my arms around his shoulders and planting a kiss on his temple. How would you feel about me kidnapping you? What? I don't really have much experience in it, but I'm pretty sure I can make off with you before any of them can stop me. So what do you think? Is it okay for me to kidnap you? Silas let out a trembling, almost relieved sigh and lowered his sword before he dropped it to the ground. I can't think of anything else I would like more. His hand found mine and squeezed it as he turned his head to look directly into my eyes. Now, please kidnap me. And there wasn't a hint of deception or reluctance there. Only truth. Oh, please, for the love of all that is holy, just leave already before I have to beat you up myself. You're going to make me sick. But he was grinning too as I pulled Silas's hand and dragged him to the forest, still keeping the guards at bay. There was no way we should have made it to the forest edge in 5 steps, but, well, I was good friends with the wizard, so that helped. We looked back once and saw Glenn there, one hand raised, and then the road vanished and we were in front of my cottage, just like that. Consider yourself well and truly kidnapped. Welcome home. No, I'm so sorry. What could you possibly be sorry for now? Silas laughed at my exasperated tone. I'm sorry for not coming to find you sooner. And with those words he pulled me close again and kissed me. I love you. I sighed and melted into his embrace. There's such reverence in this kiss, such care, and such heart-melting devotion. I wanted to spend a lifetime exploring all the places Silas could go. 12 lifetimes, 100, 1,000. And that was when I reined in the Fayside before they could get out of control again. I didn't want to scare him, after all. Pulled away from Silas and took his hand to lead him into the cottage so I could tell him everything about the last 2 months. This was not the life I had imagined when I left my grandfather's cabin on Little Mountain. This wasn't what I thought I'd find in the valley. But those were the best stories, weren't they? The ones that were unexpected? In such a short time, my world had changed completely, again and then again, and one more time. This was the ending of one chapter, a beautiful chapter. But it's also a bright beginning of the next one. I hope to spend many, many more chapters in our quaint cottage in the woods, and all of them with Silas. Epilogue. A new fairy tale begins. Okay. Alright. Okay. My voice is getting a little tired and it's actually a little past the time, but almost done, so we're gonna push through here. Why do I keep doing that? Some fairy tales are full of magic and mystery, some of great battles and triumphing over evil when everyone thought all had been lost. But some are much simpler than that. They're about the choices we make and the paths we end up walking, about the people we meet along the way and how they change us for the better. Nell Blair had disappeared like the wind by the time the Lord's men arrived. They returned only to disappear once again, right out from under everyone's nose. The mayor and lord sent out search parties only for them to return empty-handed every time. Glenn Ashford was demoted for his actions regarding the escape of Nell Blair, and Dr. Silas McCurran is assigned to guard duty on the outskirts of town, where he would visit Clarice regularly during his rounds. Want to replay the game so badly, and will still remember every moment in the route. Technology, please be nice next time. Yes, please be nice. They say that sometimes he can be seen heading into the Southwoods on nights with a clear moon whistling a happy tune. Although Clarice still had to share custody of her chickens depending on the week, she was surprised to find her cow now produced the best milk in town. Not only that, but her new roof never leaked and her garden was always inexplicably watered every morning. She spent many happy years with Donna and Bert, and sometimes Henrietta and Marcello and Charles. As for what really happened to Nell Blair and Silas McCurran, there are whispers now that a healer with emerald eyes can be found deep in the Southwoods for those who truly need it. A little cottage off the beaten path, one you can only find if you need it. The doctor who lives there can heal almost any ailment, the story goes. But be warned, for the doctor is never alone. They say that if you seek them out with ill intentions, his fae protector, the Ashen One of the Woods, will bring down the vengeance of the sky upon you. Together they protect the valley and those within it, healing and helping those that seek their aid. And if you don't believe me, they say that if you look at the sky of the forest on a cloudy night, you might catch a glimpse of the Ashen One of the Woods and their doctor, dancing to a tune only they can hear, quick as the wind and just as graceful, now and forevermore. The end. Yay! We finished! Okay. I haven't quite decided yet what I'm going to do next week. We'll see. Thank you everyone for joining me. I'm sorry that the stream was screwy. I can't even find my cursor. Really. Okay. I'm hoping that the actual video that will export to YouTube will be fine. But yeah, I will hopefully be back on Wednesday to continue playing Cataclysm Classic, provided that technology cooperates. So yeah, everybody have a great day. Please like, share, comment, subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And have a great day. Bye.